the changing and the constantly changing dynamic of this, you can say the appearances or the life as we have it, the movement of the constant change, the desire for transformation, or the desire is really often to transform or even change the appearance or character of whatever is arising. We have the power to transform and change the appearance and character of ourselves and the way we relate to everything that is arising. That power of transformation and the power to transform is inherent in the aspiration and the desire to be free of that which is the suffering, the creation of the suffering in relationship to what's even arising. So to transform, and all of this does happen within the strengthening of mind to a certain degree, and the strengthening of the conscious presence to discern and understand. So as I always say, and each time I talk about the mind, I will say that I do define the mind as a succession of states of consciousness characterized by will, thought, and feeling. So to transform, to genuinely transform, is to genuinely and truly meet exactly what is there within you and in relationship to whatever is arising. And it's very interesting. Sometimes like, oh, just think positive. You ever wonder why thinking positive doesn't quite work? The reason that just the thinking positive doesn't quite work is because what has not been relinquished, understood, or felt through in a full presence is the feeling nature in relationship to whatever is arising, which can be surmised as the afflictive emotions, potentially of aversion, resistance, anger, upset. There is nothing wrong with any of those emotions. They occur within our humanity. In fact, if your desire is freedom, they are the very fuel for transformation. They are the fuel for the transformation. If it is viewed in that way and in that aspiration to be free and to transform the negative emotions or the negativity, which is just essentially an afflicted state of being that creates suffering. With that intention and the full presence of the feeling nature, with whatever is arising, without adding more. So when the thoughts don't barrel on ahead, there can be the full presence of meeting what's here within your being. Just the presence of awareness and just the observation of it and the intention for the transformation to, you can say, the positive, that positivity, or you can say that even innate goodness, that is inherent in the true nature and does not need to be overlaid upon the negative or feeling nature. That negative feeling nature, or whatever the feeling is, simply needs to be felt. Felt. No conceptual and no thinking upon it. Then in the pure feeling nature, because everything is energy. Everything is energy, and everything is in constant movement and constant change. So something can dissipate to a certain degree because it is a constant, again, the movement of consciousness, so to speak. So in that, meeting that with no, then there is space in the mind, and then the space has been created in the mind, and the presence of the observation, and then having a clear intention of even essentially what is, you can, if it's an appearance in your world of what is the all, what is the good action, what is the good action, or what is the good intention you're holding for yourself, what is the good intention, the intention of healing or well-being that you're holding for others. And then you allow that to come into your presence. And this is a movement of transformation. And so then through that discernment and clarity, you ascertain, and you can also become even more adept at and in transforming the sources of suffering and unhappiness. And sources of suffering and unhappiness, those are all relative to the mind, which is suffering, because what is suffering for one person is not suffering for somebody else. You can never look. That's one thing I've always looked at, especially lately, in terms of like in the process of awakening to this kind of thing, because the understanding and the freedom and the liberation has to come very deeply within one's own being. And it is very deeply somewhat individual and subjective to a certain degree until that is seen and understood in its dynamics. And so that desire for transformation is actually, when it gets into a real movement of it, it is a clearing of karma. It is a shifting of the karmic patterns, which are inherent in this in this in this situation, right? In this human situation, right? So when the aspiration is for that transformation, so it is very, and then now, so the reason I want to say transformation and or transcendence is because it is important to know what you want. It's important to know exactly what is wanted, and that can change in any given moment, just like anything else. So if it's a relative arising circumstance, most often in our relationships, in our circumstance, the desire is transformation, is to transform our relationships, to transform circumstances. And so that is a movement of mind. To transcend, the idea of transcendence. On a relative level, the idea of transcendence is that you actually go beyond. It's actually an abstract thing to where you would go beyond a conceptual construct, or you would go beyond, say, when people say, oh, beyond mind, or beyond, this sort of thing. The thing to me is that all of this is arising in a level of mind here, or in consciousness, right? So the transcendence, that's twofold. Because the true nature, which can never be expressed in any words whatsoever, that is something that is recognized and ascertained within one's true nature and with the beingness. That is transcendent. It is the transcendental nature. So the transcendent nature is what is to be nourished, recognized, and intuited by resting. So you can say in quiet silence, meditation, when the mind is not busy doing its thing. And the other aspect of transcendence, to go beyond a conceptual idea or construct. All of this is a everything. Every idea, every thought is a conceptual construct. And within each conceptual construct, there's a relationship to that to some degree or another, in feeling nature, in other thoughts, and things like that. So, in order to actually transcend the conceptual mind, you need to know its nature. You need to know the nature of it, the nature of mind, the nature of thought. That is not a concept either. That is an ascertaining of a quality of observation. And you can look at one thought at a time, if you like, and you can look and understand the substance of thought itself. If you watch a thought, you give a thought your attention and watch it, and don't grab it. Don't contract on it. Just like taking in a breath, it'll arise, abide, and go right away. And one might say, well, gosh, a lot of thoughts don't seem like that. And that is because of the feeling nature and the belief in the constructs and the ideas that we create and have about all of our thoughts. Thoughts about ourselves, thoughts about everybody else. And here you have the conceptual construct of this. Now, in the transcendent, or you can say in the true nature, or in the full presence of being, when there is the abiding and the resonance, and the presence of being, then everything that arises, abides, and dissolves into that. So to understand within what is ever is arising, what to understand what is actually wanted. Because if something is arising in the mind or arising in your circumstance, the desire, rarely do you go, oh, I just want to go beyond this. Nah. You want to transform it in some way. You want to, you want to have it, there's a shift that's desired. There's a change that's desired. So the space for that change is made in the presence and the discernment and the knowingness of yourself in it. That's the only way that there is really freedom at its depth. And then you can say, and Newton said many times, the movement of the all good, the movement of the all good nature. That's what's meant because then you start to move into the intention of, you can say, compassionate transformation for yourself and for others. And so to develop the willingness to transform and to nurture your transcendent nature, in my view, is to engage the energy, because all of this is the dynamic energy of consciousness. And we're directing it all the time with our minds and hearts. We're directing all the time. Our very attention on something is moving energy. So there is a potential mastery. Nisargadatta Maharaj said, the intellect is powerless before the Supreme. Master your mind and fix it firmly at the feet of your guru. Faith in your own being is itself the feet of the guru. One more thing on that. And this is very much on the deep end, but what the heck? And that is that this came in a transmission here a while back. And it was the wordless repose is the innovative vehicle of transformation. So when the presence, the awareness drops, presence drops into the heart. It's very interesting about stillness, or and the idea of stillness or quiet. Even the quality and the dynamic of transformation comes, or is that all is moving within the one. One consciousness, one awareness, one. That is the ground of everything that's arising. And that is beyond transcendence. Because transcendence would refer to transcending something. And then there is the depth. Which already is that. Was, is, and will always be that. And so rest in the heart. Rest in the heart.